Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode on Windows 365 Hands-On. And today I'm here with my good friend Niklas, and we're going to look at some awesome stuff that he has been doing with, when you're doing changes into Intune, it can be quite hard to viewing who has done what and what is the exact impact on your environment. But he has done a really nice tooling here called Intune Change Tracking. So welcome, Niklas. Maybe you can just tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Morten. My name is Niklas. I'm an endpoint engineer based in Switzerland, and I really love Intune. So I do everything around it. I'm very active in the community. I run my own blog, which is called oceanleaf.ch, and the focus is really on enterprise mobility and now also Windows Cloud experiences. That's where my passion flows into.
Yeah, and what I really like about this change tracking here is that you just recently updated it, so we can also
Mhm.
now see changes being done to Windows 365 environments. And alongside with all the other things that your tool here can, is I just think is really valuable for a whole Intune environment with Windows 365 on top. So maybe you can just maybe show us a bit here how to set it up and just giving us your thoughts on it.
Sure. So you can find all the details again on my blog post in case you missed something in the video here, but it's really simple. Basically, it's a solution which is built on Azure workbooks, and Azure workbooks are just a visualization of logs. And if you go down here, you will find all the related resources, also the source code, which you will need for later. And there's also an implementation guide. But it's really simple because for a prerequisite, you only need to configure your Intune tenant accordingly, which is basically setting up the diagnostic setting in the tenant administration. And here you can add a diagnostic setting. I've already did that. And what Microsoft gave us recently is the Windows 365 audit logs channel. That means
Yeah.
we have different audit logs here. And now with Windows 365, we got a new one.
And one important note here is that even though you already have configured your diagnostic logs, um, you have to go in here and add the Windows 365 auto logs. So if you're familiar with diagnostic settings around different Azure services, sometimes there is a all log at the top, and that will inherit all the other logs. But in Intune, we don't have the setting yet. I hope it's coming soon. But just remember, go in here, check that Windows 365 auto logs there, and it will just streamline that to your log analytics workspace.
Good point, right? So make sure this checkbox is checked, and then this is basically the categories. And what we want to do, we want to send it to a destination. This is basically a storage solution from Microsoft, particularly something that is capable of handling logs that we generate. So in the end, it's just all audit events from the Intune portal, and we want to process that somewhere and store somewhere. And this is on a log analytics workspace, ideally, and also required. And you can choose your Azure subscription and also the log analytics workspace. And that's in fact a separate resource in Azure, so that isn't built in with your license of Intune.
Yeah. So Niklas, could you give us like a little indication of how much this will cost, just roughly, so we can have an idea of it?
Yeah, that's always a good question. So there's an official Microsoft page. We may also link that down below. That Microsoft says even if you have like 100,000 users or devices, the amount of data is nearly not here. So we just get paid like a few bucks. And I have environments with like a few thousand devices, and they've set up that solution, and they pay roughly about $3 a month. So it shouldn't fail at the price.
No. Cool. Yeah, so the logs that you're actually taking from here is the audit logs that we also can see under the tenant administration, right? So if you
Exactly.
go under the tenant administration in Intune, you have
Yeah.
the audit. I think it's called audit logs.
Yeah. Right. Here we have the audit
Yeah,
logs. And that's also a good point, because why did I create the Intune Change Workbook? Because that's the only source built in to get like the reports from an admin perspective. So who clicked what manipulations were done. And that's just not enough. I mean, yeah, we have filters, but there's no visualization for that topics. And Azure Workbooks is like the primary scenario for exactly such things.
Yeah, I mean, my experience with this audit log here, I think it's it's okay, not the best. I like your solution better, I have to say, but this can be a bit overwhelming. I mean, especially if you have a large IT department doing a lot of changes all the time, finding the right log here for the change you're looking for, it's quite a mess if you ask me.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
So yeah, we can set it right up. So for that, the only thing you in fact need is like the source code from my GitHub, also linked in the description. You just copy all the data out of here. This is basically just a JSON structure, nothing more. And then what you can do is, first of all, of course, you need a log analytics workspace, the one which you've also configured before to send the log data to. And in here, first of all, I tell it also to all my customers, go and set a daily cap of data, because you never know, right? This is basically a setting where you can limit the daily volume of data which is ingested. Because if you have like an other solution that also would like put in audit logs or something else and it exceeds the data limit, that will get you quite a huge bill. So make sure to configure a daily cap. It's always a good idea, regardless of Intune Change Workbook or something else.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And by doing this, you can also sort of predict the max cost, right? That you
Yes,
have on a solution like this. So it doesn't just, just spin off and you get a really large bill.
exactly. And also you can set the data retention, so how long the data is retained within that storage solution. Also, of course, important for the logs and visualizations, which we are going to take a look at later.
Yeah. And typically 90 days is, a
Yeah,
good in between,
yeah,
right? You don't want to lose your logs after just a few days because that might be where you find an issue and want to go back and see what happened. Um, yeah.
yeah. My recommendation is somewhere in between 90 and 180 days for the best things you get out and also for costs.
Yep.
Good. So next up, you can create a workbook. That's pretty simple. Go here to workbooks, create a new one, and the only thing you do is like ingest the code from my workbook template and apply it. And that's basically really it with the whole setup. And you will already see, we got some data here from my test tenant. Don't get confused. If you newly connect your log analytics with Intune diagnostics, it can take about, let's say, 4 to 24 hours until you see all the data in here. And also important to mention, this solution is only for the current and future data, will not have the data from the past.
That's a good point.
So
So you have a really interesting view here where we can just get a quick overview of the apps that we have, update profiles, compliance profile. It's really nice to get this kind of overview because we have something quite similar in the Intune ports, but not stated as precise as yours here. So I actually like that we have that as well.
yeah. And we can also filter more options. So we can select a custom time range where the changes should be reflected of. So I think that's quite a value. And also we just can method like for or filter for the Intune method that we used here. And we see just a rough overview, what's going on in my tenant. We see recent audit events. And that's just the overview blade.
Cool. And now you have something with Cloud PC I can see.
Yeah, right. So this is how you can monitor your Cloud PC. What I did to implement that solution, so I extended just the KQL queries, and also to say that here I'm not a KQL pro, so if you have any improvements, please let me know. But what I did is when Microsoft added that Windows 365 audit log channel, I analyzed which data is in and how could I visualize what's the important things. And I also hope for the future that Microsoft brings even more log details. But I think as of now, this is like a really good starting point, because what we see here is always like the query, and you can also open that back here in KQL. And we have a few data here. So for example, how many cloud PCs were seen, unique cloud PCs in the last 90 days? How many total audit events do we have? We also have some SKU counts. So which equipment does your cloud PCs have? and also the events type. So also here filter, you want to see who made a change to a provisioning policy. Go take a look here, because here you see all like create, patches, deletes, and so on. It's an external system, so there's like no way to hide that. And here you will always find the true for your audit events. And here we just have an auto visualization. So if I change that one to Cloud PC model, we also see here like who rebooted the PC. If we scroll here a little bit
Hmm.
on the right side, you can find much more information. And that's like just the clear audit events which we can find here.
Yeah, I see that you have the end grace period, which is, you know, it's really easy to click on as an IT admin. And you might be wondering, well, who deleted that virtual machine before time, right?
Yeah,
And now we actually have some good visualization on it.
yeah.
And hopefully in the future, I really do hope that we will get the logs from the end user perspective. So
Mhm.
when end users are restarting their Cloud PC or troubleshooting or resetting their Cloud PC, it will be really valuable for us as IT administrator when we're doing, especially troubleshooting, to see, okay, did the user do something themselves? And of course, they can tell us, but logs don't lie, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So yeah, I hope that will be added in the future by Microsoft. Yeah, but this is a good starting point for sure, for sure. And
Hopefully.
alongside with your other things that you have in your workbook here, um, for example, the device operations, right? So you can go into
Yeah.
see some
That's
operations. Yeah,
that's like quite universal. So of course a little bit intended for Windows devices always, but you could see, for example, who made sync actions or who made delete or wipe actions and so on. And I think that's quite interesting, because especially for the particular events here, also in correlation here with profile types, we always have like a correlation ID. And that correlation ID gives us more information, and especially, this is also why the solution is called change tracking. We can copy these correlation IDs here. For this is now a macOS profile which I edited, and I can see I got here some new custom doc files uploaded, and previously there's like no built-in functionality for that, and this is also quite one of my favorite features of that solution.
it's really cool, and I cannot wait for version 4 to see what you add in there. So I will
Yeah,
definitely be looking on that, and yeah, we will put all the links in the description of this video here, so you easily can find it. And I'm sure that people are allowed to reach out to you, Niklas. So where
sure.
can they reach out to you? Are you on Twitter, LinkedIn?
Yeah, the usual stuff. So Twitter, of course, very active there. Also
Yeah.
on the LinkedIn community, but also you will find all the details about me on my blog, oceanleaf.ch. Feel free to contact me anytime. I'm really here for the community. That's my passion, as said, and yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah, and we will of course put your contact details in the description as well.
Thanks a lot.
Great, Niklas. It was really nice to have you here and talking about your great tool that I'm using in my own tenant now. And I've also I talked with some of my customers about it, and they are really interesting to look into this feature or this solution here as well, because it's really great.
Thanks.
Thank you for coming, and it was nice, and I hope that we can do this another time as well.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Morten, and have a nice day.